In this video, we'll be talking about cell alignment in Excel. So we're going to first of all understand what is cell alignment. Now, when we've got our text in Excel, sometimes it can be allocated in a weird place. Can you see how some of these titles seem to be pushed to the left and some of them seem to be pushed to the right? Well, the reason for that is they're not all aligned correctly. So the alignment options are up here. So these ones up the top refer to how far down each of these are. So if I make this bigger, it should make it a little bit obvious. As you can see, all of these titles are at the bottom. They're aligned at the bottom. Maybe we want to align these at the middle, like that. A little bit more aesthetic, or potentially at the top. Or maybe because it's a total row, we want to leave that at the bottom. Now the next thing is you'll notice that some of these are pushed over to the left. So we can select an individual cell and we can change this over here as well. So we can have this on the left, the middle, or the right. We can also fix all of them at once by selecting the whole row and selecting middle align and center align. We can also do it for our column of numbers. It's a good idea that your data below is in the same format as it is above. So for example, we don't want the data on the left hand side whilst our numbers are on the right hand side. So that's how we align text. Whilst we're going through the alignment tab, I wanted to show you another feature, because sometimes you might be opening your Excel workbook and you're getting a whole lot of these hashtags, and that can look very scary at first because some of the errors, like the hashtag ref or hashtag value, all have hashtags at the beginning. But really what this is saying is that Excel doesn't have enough space on your screen to display the number. So a common solution is to just make the column wider. However, there is an alternative. In the alignment tab, if we press this little down button here, we have the option to tick shrink to fit. So let's tick that there. What that will do is actually going to reduce the size of the number until it can fit in the column. So we can change the size of this column as much as we want or as wide as we want, and we'll still be able to see the number. The only downside is if we make this column really small, it's going to be almost impossible to read the number, but at least you don't have all these hashtags showing up. We can also apply it to the whole column instead of just applying it one by selecting the whole column, ticking the little more in the alignment tab to go to alignment settings, and then clicking shrink to fit. Excellent. I note that some of these number formats are a little bit different, so I'm also going to format painter them to make sure that they are consistent. There we go. The thing we're going to be talking about is using vertical cell alignment. So we talked about horizontal already. What about vertical? So our alignment up here is okay. What I want to change is our orientation, and this is the way the text is displayed. So as you can see over here, we've got our month number title is being cut off because the column is too narrow. So there's two possibilities that we could do here. So option number one is wrapping the text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the cell that I can't see, and I'm going to press wrap text. And all of a sudden, instead of going across the different cells, it's going to try and fit it into that column. The only downside is if it's really long name, what it's going to do is going to make this really tall just to fit it in. So for example, if I do this, look how high it gets. So sometimes wrapping text isn't the neatest way of saving your data. Now, the other option that I was going to talk to you about is alignment. So what we can do is we can select this cell and press this alignment button up here, orientation button, press that, and we can choose which direction we want the text to go in. So we could choose rotate text up, and all of a sudden we can make the column a lot thinner and fit a lot more data in. So maybe that's the way to go. You could also do it in a counterclockwise, and you can also apply it across the whole row. So let's make the whole row counterclockwise. So that might be a better way of fitting in your data into a single page. Or we can change this to rotate text up and just make this a little bit longer, and then we can make these columns a little bit thinner. So that's another way of organizing the page. There is another way of getting to this alignment, and it's in this alignment extra settings, which we can also get to through the format cells. You'll note that this has taken us to the alignment section. So we can actually change the text in any direction we want in this slider over here. So if we want it to be in the normal way of 0 degrees, we can do that, okay, and it's back to normal. Alternatively, keep in mind that's the same location, we can do it at a 45 degree. We can even type it in down here or change it with this little clicker, and there we have it. We can customize our text direction to make it fit in our work paper. The next thing that we're going to talk about is indenting cells. So this is something that's probably more common in Microsoft Word, but it can be on occasion relevant for formatting an Excel file. So I'm going to bring up this table, and you can see I've got a number of subheadings explaining different sections. And then I've got more detailed text going into greater detail to explain what each of these subheadings is about. But what I want to do is I want to add an indent so it looks a bit more professional. It's also a great way of categorizing lists, because you might have a heading here and then we want to add some examples down the bottom. So let's go for example, and then instead of just writing A, B, B, C, D, we're actually going to indent it so it stands out and you can tell it's a sub-item on the list. So the way you do these indents is just under here, right above the word alignment. So we can increase our indent with this button here, and all of a sudden our list looks a lot better. So I'm going to add a second one down here, and you can see the indentation has been kept consistent even though I've added in a new row, and there's the third item. So what else I can do is I can actually reduce the indent by going back the other way as well, or I can increase it even further. So another handy trick for keeping your Excel professionally formatted. The next thing that we're going to be talking about is the wrapping and merge text functions. So we've talked about wrapping already. What about merges? So as you can see in this example down here, I've got a really long text string over here. It's a really long sentence. And if I am putting something in the cell next to it, even though the text is still in B38, because I've got a value in here, in the next cell, C38, I can no longer see the text. So the reason is because the text exceeds the width of the column. So a simple solution for creating a workaround solution is to create a merged cell and just have the text in here. So my first step of what I'm going to do is I'm going to select how big I want the merged cells to be. Now I'm going to select these cells here, and then I'm going to go up to the alignment tab and press merge and center like this. It's going to give you a warning that says it only keeps the upper left and discards other values. I'm going to tell you why that's important later. For now, let's ignore it. Okay, so now let me just put a border around this so you can see what the merged cell looks like. Instead of having one individual cell like this, we've got a single cell which is a combination of all of those cells in the selection. But it's also giving me the opportunity to just have one cell to insert text. The only problem is I can't read it. There's lots of space, but I can't read it. So that's when we're going to add the final step, which is to wrap text. So I'm going to click that button, and all of a sudden it's going to fit in that box now. So that's merging and wrapping combined. Now back to that warning sign of the merge. Let's see what happens if I've got 4 different strings of text on 4 different rows, and I want to merge them into a single sentence in a single box. I'm going to try and merge and center this and see what happens. I'm going to press this button here, and it says merging only keeps the upper left value and discards the others. So what that means is it's only going to keep the text in cell B23, the top one. From B24 to B26, those values are all going to be deleted. So I don't recommend you doing this. So you can see there, we've only got the first sentence anymore. If that happens, I recommend you either just create a text box, like so, go insert comment, insert text box. Shouldn't be grayed out, but insert text box. And then after that, what you can do is go copy and paste into the text box. Okay, so how do we actually get rid of a merged cell? Because it's not actually best practice to have merged cells in your document. Because what happens if you want to do a sum and include that row? It can actually screw up the formula. Let's see what happens. So I'm now selecting just column F, but as soon as I hit the merge cell, I'm now highlighting everything, which I don't want to do. There is a workaround by just changing the formula to column B or whatever column it is, and then it'll see through the merge cell. But it can make doing formulas quite tricky, so generally I avoid having any merged cells. So if we want to remove this merged cell, the way we do that is we just unclick this again, and our text is restored. However, if you accidentally deleted any of this as part of the merge, if there was text in these cells, you're not going to get it back. So that is wrapping and merging and unmerging text. And the last part of Unit 11, cell alignment in Excel.